Today's video is on paraphrasing. So this is the idea of taking the words of another author and putting them into your own words and how to do this correctly. So some rules: paraphrases must be clearly attributed to their source. So you must never paraphrase something without telling where you got it. Paraphrases must use your words and not the words of the author, so you need to change the words. And paraphrases must also have an in-text citation if the information is specific. So if what you are, the information you're conveying in your text includes any really specific information like numbers and places or names, then you still need to provide a citation. If it's general or summative, then you do not need to provide an in-text citation with a page number. So when to paraphrase? Anytime an author has a large set of ideas, possibly over a page or two or several pages, and you want to sum them up in your own words, then you would paraphrase. Or if an author has several ideas that you'd like to synthesize and you feel it's too much to quote, then you can put them into your own words. Or if the author says something and you feel it's important to rephrase it in a way that might be clear to your particular audience, or if you just want to simplify a rather complex idea and you feel that for audience purposes it's appropriate to have a simpler way. So those would be the 4 reasons to paraphrase. When not to paraphrase: you do not want to paraphrase if any of the author's words or key phrasings are crucial to the understanding of the text, especially if they are discussing specific words and phrases and those are under discussion or part of an argument, then you would need to quote those. You never want to paraphrase if your author has said something in a way that is unique, or the way that they have said something is important or could possibly be misinterpreted or come under scrutiny. Then you want to make sure you quote that. Or if the author has simply said something in a way that you couldn't possibly put any other way and have it be better. So these are the times when you should not paraphrase and you should use a direct quote. Okay, so let's look at how to do this. So I want you to imagine that you're writing a paper on gun control and you want to incorporate the information you have from an article written by someone named Osland. And you are beginning a paragraph to talk about this article. And so far you have written, this is what you have written: Osland is against gun ownership, and the more I read, the more I tend to agree. And this isn't because I don't think people shouldn't be able to hunt. The problem is the number of guns and the young hands that get a hold of them. So that's the beginning of your paragraph, okay? So now you want to paraphrase. So this is from page 12 of a text by Osland. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but based on this particular text, you want to make sure that you include the number of guns, because he talks about the fact that there are 200 million privately owned guns in the United States, which is about a gun per person, and more than 1 gun per home on average. So that number you want to have in your text. You also want to say something about the fact that the most common victims of gun crimes are teenagers. And you also want to include something about how this story about how an 11 and 13-year-old kids went to Jonesboro, Arkansas and gunned down 13 people. And of the 13, 9 survived, and there were some classmates and a teacher, and they were killed. So that's the information you want to put into your text. So the number of guns, the kids that are 16 to 19 are the victims, and the 11 to 13-year-olds. What would this particular thing look like? So this is a possible paraphrase here. This is where we ended up, right here. Okay, there are a staggering 200 million privately owned guns in the U.S., which is 1 gun per person and more than 1 per home. These are guns not just for hunters or adults, and adults aren't the ones getting hurt the most by guns. In fact, kids between the ages of 16 and 19 are the most likely victims of gun crime. or even younger, like the two children, 11 and 13 years of age, that gunned down a total of 13 people at their school in Arkansas in 1998 using their grandpa's rifles. This alone should be enough to make us want to do something, make some changes, fix the gun problem in whatever way we can. Okay, so here are some problems with this particular text. One is that this phrase, staggering 200 million privately owned guns in the U.S., 1 gun per person, 16 and 19, kids between the ages of 16 and 19, and 11 and 13 years of age, that gunned down a total of 13 people. Those are direct quotes. Those words have not been changed at all from the text we just looked at. So these particular phrases are plagiarized because they are the exact words. So one way to fix this would be to put quotation marks around all of these and then add an in-text citation. So you'd have staggering 200 million privately owned guns in the U.S., which is 1 gun per person, and here you would add a citation. In fact, kids between ages of 16 and 19, add a citation. Like the two children, 11 and 13 years of age, add a citation. Okay, that's one way to do it, but it's clunky. And there's nothing particularly lovely or beautiful about this phrasing. There's nothing about it that says, I really should put it this way. So there's nothing in his particular text that makes it quote-worthy. It's just those numbers we want to get in there, right? So the other thing to notice is that when you read this, and which you probably can't anymore, let me remove some of this. When you read this, I want you to notice there is nothing in this paragraph that lets us know that any of this information is from anyone. It sounds as though you made up this information on your own. Ostland himself is missing from this text. So this is all plagiarized. This is not good. This is poorly done. Okay, so this is how not to paraphrase, actually. So here's what you need to do is you need to take these phrases and you need to change them and put them in your own words. You need still the numbers, but the words need to be different. So instead of 200 million privately owned guns and 1 gun per person, you change it to 200 million guns in the U.S., nearly equal to the population. Same thing. Kids between ages of 16 and 19 becomes teenagers, kids 16 to 19. And 11 and 13 years of age that gunned down a total of 13 people becomes 11 and 13-year-old boys that killed or injured 13 people. Okay, so it's just a matter of putting it in your own words. Notice the numbers are the same, but the words are different. And you don't need to quote numbers. Ostland's way of saying things is not important. It's only these numbers that you want to make sure you get in here, right? So how you say it is not important. The easiest way to do this is put the article away. Jot down the numbers that you need and set the actual book or article that you got aside, close it so you can't see it, and then you will be able to put it in your own words much easier. So here is how you paraphrase. This is where we were beginning. Ostland reports a staggering 200 million guns in the U.S., nearly equal to the U.S. population. Notice Ostland reports is in here. He also notes that these guns are not just for hunters or adults, and that adults aren't the ones getting hurt the most by guns. In fact, he says it's teenagers, 16 to 19, that are the most likely victims of gun crime, or even younger, like the 13 and 19-year-old boys that Ostland says killed or injured 13 people at their school in Arkansas. And here, at the end of the paraphrase, this is all paraphrased, and at the end, you provide a citation, the author's name, and the page number. And that is how to paraphrase. And just a little note, Ostland is not a real person. He didn't write anything. This text is from a cheating website that posts term papers for you to plagiarize with. Please remember that if you can get it, so can I.